The miscalculation on the Luka front. How about the Brunson front? What was that? Arrogance? Was it mismanagement? Or was it a miscalculation to allow Jalen Brunson to head out the back door and head to New York?
In a word, yes. I mean, it was all the above. And look, Brunson is like he's mentioned in the opening scene, which is the post-draft press conference when you got this kid Luka Doncic coming over from Slovenia and this NCAA Player of the Year who slid into the second round, Jalen Brunson, who was right there with him. And there's Leon Rose, sitting in one of the first couple rows at the press conference. Brunson's godfather, obviously, his longtime or his agent, his original client, Rick Brunson. I mean, they're family. And honestly, Leon Rose, from the time that original contract was signed, was getting over on the Mavericks. The way the contract was signed, it was a non-guaranteed final year, not a team option. And it's really minutia, but it's a massive tidbit of minutia because that's the difference in Brunson would have been a restricted free agent versus an unrestricted free agent. All the difference in the world. Now, they're the ones who let Brunson hit unrestricted free agency. Brunson wanted to sign, thought he would sign, planned to sign the 4-year, $55 million extension the summer coming off of him being a sixth man of the year candidate. Now, it ended rough. Trey Burke was getting minutes over him in game 7 of a playoff series. That ended up being Rick Carlisle's last playoff series. But, this guy was, proved himself to be a nice young part of this core. Mavericks didn't want to put that deal on the table. And there were a variety of reasons, that I detailed there. One of them was because they figured the KP trade had clearly not panned out. They needed to find a co-star for Luka. And if they were going to make that kind of swing in the trade market, Brunson was going to probably have to be part of that deal. And they'd shopped him many times. It's funny, one of the places they shopped him was the draft where Tyrese Halliburton was in it.
Yes.
And the Knicks had, I believe it was the 8th overall pick. But the Knicks were on, every team from like 3 until Halliburton went off the board. The Mavericks called and they dangled Brunson. And the Mavericks had 2 picks in that, I don't remember, I think it was 18 and 31. And Leon Rose, no, we love this Obi Toppin kid. So he didn't do it then. And they'd shot Brunson, but they didn't want to commit to him. Cuban thought Brunson was going to be a mid-level guy, which at the time was 45 mil over 4 years. He looked around the teams with cap space. They all had heavy investments in young guards. He didn't think there was a landing spot for Brunson. Brunson, and his dad, his agents, they went back to the Mavericks in early January. And Brunson had established himself as a starter at this point. He kept this thing afloat when they had to shut Luka down. There was an ankle injury. He needed to get in shape. Then he got COVID. Brunson kept this thing afloat. He was averaging like 21 and 7 during that span. Like this, he'd proven like not only is he like a nice young player, like he's a legit quality starter. Didn't want to do it then. They came back to him right after the trade deadline and said, "Hey, we're ready." It was like, "Nah, I've outgrown that number."
Yeah.
And the guy just keeps getting better and better and better. Obviously, then the stuff with the Knicks, like you started hearing all that talk. The Knicks were going to have to move mountains though to create cap space. Brunson's price keeps going up, 41 and 31 in playoff wins over the Jazz, while Luka's nursing the first of those calf strains. And then how things played out in free agency.
Yeah.
And look, Cuban said Fred VanVleet money. That's as high as we can go. At the time, it was 21 mil a year. VanVleet signed for 40 some a year the next year, but 21 mil a year is as high as we can go. 4 years, 104. Are you kidding me? What an overpay. Well, it's been a hell of a deal for the Knicks. The Mavericks, maybe Brunson's going to New York regardless. His dad had been hired as an assistant under Tibbs. Obviously, Tibbs' family, Leon Rose's family. Maybe the Mavericks couldn't have outbid the Knicks. They didn't try, though, so they never found out. And like I said, that deal was a hell of a bargain for the Knicks. And now what? Brunson got what? Was it 156 over four
Yeah, I
years?
believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a guy. Massive discount for the franchise. Nobody, not even Rick Brunson, thought Jalen was going to be this good, but it was very clear by the time he left Dallas that he was a damn good player. An all-star, maybe not. All NBA, nobody saw that. MVP candidate? No. I mean, he continues blowing by expectations.
Yeah.
But when Brunson left for nothing, like Steve Nash a generation before, it was a massive, massive blow to the Mavericks.
Yeah, shout out. We have a franchise channel member, LD, says, "Hey, don't forget Steve Nash left the Mavericks." And you're right, nobody saw it. Even Rick. Rick told me, he's like, I had no idea this guy was going to be this kid was going to be this good. And when in the book also, when Nico and Mark both felt like the New York pressure or the situation in terms of Leon going there and ultimately Rick going there. Did you feel like even if they came back with more money that it seemed like Rick wanted to have Jalen have his own spot?
Yeah.
How could he pass up the Knicks? Do you feel like even if the money was equal or greater, he would have stayed in Dallas?
Equal, I doubt it. If they'd have come max, I mean, Rick Brunson said himself, got to take it.
Yeah, yeah.
And look, the Mavericks would have gotten ripped if they'd have maxed him out at the time. Obviously, he's proven himself to be that level of player. But again, Mark Cuban made all this noise about we've got his bird rights. We can pay more than anybody. And they didn't compete. Financially, they didn't attempt to compete. And Cuban after the facts talked about, well, if I'd have known what the number, I'd have paid it in a heartbeat. Brother, the Knicks got hit with tampering.
Right.
They got convicted of tampering because everybody who had an internet connection knew the number. I reported it a week in advance. Now, I said 4 years in excess of 100 million, so I didn't have it down to the dollar, but give me a freaking break.
Yeah.
Like it was widely reported well in advance of free agency. Everybody knew the number. The Mavs didn't want to pay it. And the craziest thing about all that, though, is as awful of a mistake as it was, they recovered from it because they were able to get Kyrie for just a fraction of his on-court value because of all the controversy in Brooklyn. And losing Brunson wasn't just about losing the production. It was about losing his presence in the locker room. He's one of the best leaders in the league. Now, in New York, he's a face of the franchise, and I think everybody understands it. In Dallas, it was a little bit understated behind the scenes, but he was always a guy like his teammates love him. His teammates respect him. His voice carries. Luka is so emotional, joy, agony, anger. It's never like steady, right? And a lot of times that passion is great, but you need that steady and calm presence to kind of counter it. That was Brunson. And I didn't see this coming, but Kyrie has or did provide that. Yeah. Kyrie stepped into that leadership void and that, provided that calm kind of counter. So as massive of a mistake as the Mavericks made with Brunson, they were able to recover from it by trading for Kyrie. And by the way, I can't say this with certainty, but I am, and nobody will ever know, but I am pretty sure that had Brunson committed to that 4-year, $55 million extension, or if the Mavericks would have given it to him when he wanted it as recently as January of his last year here, I think he'd have been a Brooklyn Net.
He would have been flipped.
I think he would have been moved because what were they trying to do with him the whole time? Put him in a package for a proven star.
Right.
I think he would have been in Brooklyn. Maybe they don't have to give up their 2029 first rounder, but I think he would have been in Brooklyn as part of the Kyrie trade.
Yeah, and as it was said in the book, I don't remember who was quoted in saying that, but I think it was Rick by saying that Mark wants his stars in there. He wants to sell those tickets, and so hey, he may have traded Jalen to Brooklyn.
Yeah, and Kyrie obviously big name, proven star, phenomenal player. But yeah, and look, Mark blamed Rick Brunson for meddling. Rick's like, okay, as you said, I'm the effing father.
Right,
and
right.
Let me meddle in my kids' events and get them paid twice as much for a basically a promotion, for a team that like the Knicks have had a lot of success with Jalen Brunson. He's driving a winning team in the biggest market in the league that was starved for success and got a lot more money, more responsibility. Like, okay, blame me for putting my son in that situation, please.